Flickering away as fast as it came, another life ends here. A tale that was cast into steel and stone, one that dear friends and bitter enemies will try to scratch in permanently, burying the details along with me in the grave. My human form erased from physical existence, while simple shadows remain from behind a distance. What will be written for all to remember me by? Will it be something I said, did, or tried? But this one is mine alone to confess. I shall be the one to settle the spirits of rumors, of which the lines of true and false have been blurred. When only shadows remain behind, what will be etched into others' minds?
The secret of the stars, gravitation. The secret of the earth, layers of rock. The secret of the soil, to receive seed. The secret of the seed, the germ. The secret of man, the sower. The secret of women, the soil. My secret, under a mound that you shall never find.
In youth, my wings were strong and tireless, but I did not know the mountains. In age, I knew the mountains, but my weary wings could not follow my vision. Genius is wisdom and youth.
I sat on the bank above Bernadette and dropped crumbs in the water just to see the minnows bump each other, until the strongest got the prize. Or I went to my little pasture where the peaceful swine were asleep in the wallow or nosing each other lovingly, and I emptied my basket of yellow corn and watched them push and squeal and bite and trample each other to get the corn. And I saw a Christian Dahlman's farm of more than 3,000 acres swallowed the patch of Felix Schmidt like a bass will swallow a minnow. And I say, if there's anything in man, spirit or conscience or breath of God, that makes him different from fishes or hogs, I'd like to see it work.
There by the window in the old house, perched on the bluff, overlooking miles of valley, my days of labor closed, sitting out life's decline. Day by day did I look back in my memory, as one who gazes through an enchantress's crystal globe, as if in a pageant glassed by a dream, move through the incredible sphere of time. And I saw a man arise from the soil like a fabled giant and throw himself over a deathless destiny. Master of great armies, head of the republic, thrown into a dithyramb of recreative song, the epic hopes of a people. At the same time, Vulcan of sovereign fires, where impenetrable shields and swords were beaten out by spirits tempered in heaven. Look into the crystal. See how he hastens on to a path that meets with the path of a child of Plutarch and Shakespeare. O Lincoln, actor indeed, playing your part well. And Booth, who strode in a mimic play within the play. Often and often I saw you, as the cawing crows winged their way to the wood, over my housetop at solemn sunsets, there by my window, alone.
It was just like everything else in life. Something outside myself drew me down. My own strength never failed me. There was this one time where I earned the money of which to go away to school. And my father suddenly needed help. And I had to give him all of it. Just so it went till I ended up a man of all work in Spoon River. That's when I got the water tower cleaned, and they hauled me up to 70 feet. I unhooked the rope from my waist, and laughingly flung my giant arms over the smooth steel lips of the top of the tower. But they slipped from the treacherous slime. And down, down, down I plunged into bellowing darkness.
Nothing in life is alien to you. I was a poor, penniless girl from Summum who stepped off the morning train into Spoon River. All the houses stood before me with closed doors and drawn shades. I was barred out. I had no place or part in any of them. And as I walked past the old McNeely mansion, a castle's stone, mid walks and gardens, and the workmen about on guard, and the county and state upholding it for its lordly owner, full of pride. I was so hungry. I had a vision. I saw a giant pair of scissors dip from the sky like the beam of a dredge and cut the house in two like a curtain. But at the commercial, I saw a man who winked at me as I asked for work. It was Wash McNeely's son. He proved the link in the chain of title to half my ownership of the mansion. Through a breach of promise suit, the scissors, so you see, the house from that day I was born was only waiting for me.
I know he said I snared his soul with a snare which bled him to death. And all the men loved him, and all the women pitied him. But suppose you're a real lady, and have delicate tastes, and loathe the smell of whiskey and onions, and the rhythm of Woodward's ode runs through your ears, and there he goes, night and day, repeating the same bits of the common phrase, "Oh, why should the spirit of a mortal be proud?" And then suppose you're a woman, well endowed, and the only man who which law and mortality permits you to have marital relationships with is the very man that fills you with disgust. Every time you think of it, wow, you think of it every time you see him. That's why I drove him away from home, to live with his dog in some dingy room, back of his office.
I was sick, but more than that, I was mad. At the crooked police and the crooked game of life. So I wrote to the chief of police in Peoria. I'm here in my girlhood home in Spoon River, gradually wasting away. But come and take me. I killed the son of the merchant prince in Madame Lou's. And the papers that said he killed himself in his home while cleaning a hunting gun lied like the devil to hush up a scandal for the bribe of advertising. In my room in Madame Lou's, I shot him because he knocked me down when I said that despite all the money he had, I'd see my lover that night.
Only a chemist can tell, but not always a chemist. What will result in the compounding, solids or fluids? And who can tell how men and women will interact on each other, or what children will result? There were Benjamin Panther and his wife, good in themselves but evil towards each other. He oxygen, she hydrogen, their son, a devastating fire. I, trainer, the druggist, and the mixer of chemicals, killed while making an experiment, lived unwedded.
No other man, unless it was Doc Hill, did more for the people in this town than I. And all the weak, the halt, the improvident, and those who cannot pay flocked to me. I was good-hearted. Easy, Dr. Mayers. I was happy, healthy, and good fortune. Blessed with a congenial mate. My children raised, all wedded, doing well in the world. But one night, whenever the poetess came to me in her trouble crying, I tried to help her out. She died. They indicted me. The newspapers disgraced me. My wife perished of a broken heart. And pneumonia finished me.
He protested all his life long. The newspapers lied about him villainously. But he was not at fault for a nervous fall. But he only tried to help her. Poor soul so sunk in sin, he could not see that even trying to help her, as he called it, he had broken the law, human and divine. Passers-by, an ancient admonition to you, if your ways would be ways of pleasantness and all your pathways peace, love God and keep his commandments.
I am Minerva, the village poetess, hooted at, jeered at by the yahoos of the street, from my heavy body, cockeye and rolling walk, and all the more when Butchweldy captured me after a brutal hunt. He left me to my fate with Dr. Mayers, and I sank into death, growing numb from the feet up, like one stepping deeper and deeper into a stream of ice. Will someone go to the village newsstand and gather into book the verses I wrote? I thirsted so for love, I hungered so for life.
Yes, here I lie close to a stunted rosebush, in a forgotten place near the fence where the thickets from Seaver's woods have crept over, growing sparsely. And you are a leader in New York, the wife of a noted millionaire, a name in the society columns, beautiful, admired perhaps by the mirage of distance. You have succeeded, I have failed in the eyes of the world. You are alive, I am dead. Yet I know that I vanquished your spirit, and I know lying here far from you, unheard of among your great friends in the brilliant world where you move, I am really the unconquerable power over your life that robs it of complete triumph.
Rich and honored by my fellow citizens, and father to many children born of a noble mother, always there, in that great mansion house at the edge of town. Note the cedar tree on the lawn. I sent all of the boys to Ann Arbor, all of the girls to Rockford. All the while my life went on, getting more riches and honors. Well, the years went on. I sent the girls to Europe, I dowered them when married. I gave the boys money to start in business. Oh, they were strong children, promising as apples, before the bitten places begin to show. But John fled the country in disgrace. Jenny died in childbirth. I sat under my cedar tree. Harry killed himself after the bark. Susan was divorced. I sat under my cedar tree. Paul was invalided from overstudy. Mary became a recluse at home for the love of a man. I sat under my cedar tree. My mate, the mother of them, was taken. I sat under my cedar tree. All were gone or broken winged or devoured by life. I sat under my cedar tree. Oh, till 90 years foretold. Oh, maternal earth, which rocks thy fallen leaf to sleep.
Maurice, weep not. I am not here under this pine tree. The balmy air of spring whispers through the sweet grass. The stars sparkle, the whippoorwill calls. But thou grievest, while my soul lies rapturous in the blessed nirvana of eternal light. Go to the good heart that is my husband, who broods upon what he calls our guilty love. Tell him that my love for you, no less than my love for him, wrought out my destiny, that through the flesh I win spirit, and through spirit peace. There is no marriage in heaven, but there is love. Out of me, unworthy and unknown, the vibrations of deathless music, with malice towards none and charity for all. Out of me, the forgiveness of millions towards millions, and a beneficent face of a nation shining through justice and truth. I am Aunt Rutledge, who sleep beneath these weeds, beloved in life to Abraham Lincoln, wedded to him not through union, but through separation. Bloom forever, O Republic, from the dust of my bosom.
Where is my boy? My boy? In what far part of the world? The boy I love best of all the school. I, the teacher, the old maid, the virgin heart, who made them all my children. Did I know my boy aright, thinking of him a spirit of flames, active, ever aspiring? Oh, boy, boy, for who I prayed and prayed in many watchful nights. Do you remember the letter I wrote you? Of the beautiful love of Christ? And whether you took it or not, my boy, wherever you are, work for your soul's sake, to the soul of you, The joy of you yields to the fire of you. To the fire is nothing but light, nothing but light.
You observe the carven hand, the index finger pointed heavenwards. That is the direction, no doubt, but how shall one follow it? It is well to abstain from murder and lust, to forgive, do good to others, worship God, without graven images. But these are external means, after all, by which we chiefly do good to ourselves. The inner kernel is freedom. It is light, purity. I can no more. Find the goal or lose it, according to your vision.
Back and forth, to and from the church, with my Bible under my arm till I was gray and old, unwedded, alone in the world, finding brothers and sisters in the congregation, and children in the church. I know they laughed and thought me queer. I knew of the eagle souls that flew high in the sunlight, above the spire of the church, and laughed at the church. But if the higher was sweet to them, sweet was the church to me. It was the vision of the poets democratized.
I preached 4,000 sermons. I conducted 40 revivals and baptized many converts. Yet no deed of mine shines brighter in the memory of the world, and none is treasured more by me. Look, how I saved the blisses from divorce, and I kept the children free from that disgrace, to grow up into moral men and women, to happy themselves, a credit to the village.
I belong to the church, and to the party of prohibition. And the villager's side died of eating watermelon. In truth, I had cirrhosis of the liver. For every noon for 30 years, I sat behind a prescription partition at Trainer's drugstore and poured a generous drink from the bottle marked Spiritus Frumenti.
I staggered on through the darkness. There was a hazy sky of few stars, which I followed as best I could. It was just about 9 o'clock, and I was trying to get home, but somehow I was lost, although really keeping the road. But then I reeled through a gate and into a yard, and I yelled at the top of my voice, "Oh, Mr. Fiddler! Oh, Mr. Jones!" I thought it was his house, and he would show me the way home. But who should step out but A.D. Blood in his nightshirt, waving a stick of wood and roaring about the cursed saloons and the criminals they made? I stood there, weaving to and fro, taking the blows from the stick in his hand, till I dropped down dead at his feet.
A stepmother drove me from home, embittering me. A squaw man, a flaneur and dilettante took my virtue. For years I was his mistress, no one knew. I learned from him the parasite cunning with which I moved with the bluffs, like a flea on a dog. All the years I was nothing but very private with different men. Then Daniel, the radical, he had me for years. His sister called me his mistress, and Daniel wrote me shameful words, soiling our beautiful love. But my anger coiled, preparing its fangs. My lesbian friend next took a hand. She hated Daniel's sister, and Daniel despised her midget husband. And she saw a chance for a poisonous thrust, and I must complain to the wife of Daniel's pursuit. But before I did that, I begged him to fly to London with me. Why not stay in the city, just as we have? He asked. I turned submarine and revenged his repulse in the arms of my dilettante friend, then up to the surface, bearing the letter that Daniel wrote me to prove my honor was all intact, showing it to his wife, my lesbian friend, and everyone. If only Daniel had shot me dead, instead of stripping me naked of lies, a harlot in body and soul.
When Reuben Painter ran away and threw me, I went to Springfield. There, I met a lush, whose father just deceased and left him a fortune. He married me when drunk. My life was wrenched. A year passed, and one day, they found him dead. And that made me rich. I moved on to Chicago. After a time, met Tyler Rountree, villain. I moved on to New York. There, a gray-haired magnate went mad about me. So another fortune. He died one night, right in my arms. You know? I saw his purple face for years thereafter. There was almost a scandal. I moved on. This time, to Paris. As now a woman, insidious, subtle, versed in the world and rich, my sweet apartment near the Champs-Elysees became a center for all sorts of people. Musicians, poets, dandies, artists, nobles. We spoke French and German, English, Italian. I wed Count Navigato, native of Genoa. We went to Rome. He poisoned me. I think. Now, in the Capo Santos, overlooking the sea, where young Columbus dreamed new worlds. See what they chiseled? Contessa Navigato, implora y terra, quiete.
After I got religion and studied down, they gave me a job in the candy works. And every morning I had to go out in the yard and fill the tank with gasoline. That fed the blowfires in the shed to heat the soldering irons, and I mounted a rickety ladder to do it. One morning, I stood there pouring, and the air seemed to heave, and I shot up in the air as the tank exploded, and I came down with both my legs broken, and my eyes burnt crisp as a couple of eggs. Somehow, something sucked the flame back in. The circuit judge said whoever did it was a fellow servant of mine. So old Rhodes' son didn't have to pay me, and I stood there on the witness stand blind as Jack the Fiddler, saying over and over, "I didn't know him at all."
Take note, passers-by, of the sharp erosions eaten into my headstone, as if some intangible nemesis or hatred were making scores against me, but to destroy and not preserve my legacy. For in life I was a circuit judge, making cases on what the lawyers scored, but not the right of the matter. Oh, wind and rain, leave my headstone be. But even worse than the anger of the wronged and the curses of the poor was to lie speechless, yet with eyes open and clear, to see that hard put the murderer, hanged by my sentence, with an innocent soul prepared to die.
Suppose you stood 5'2" and studied your way as a grocery clerk studying law by candlelight until you became an attorney at law. And then suppose through your diligence and regular church attendance, you became the attorney for Thomas Rhodes, collecting notes, mortgages, and representing all the widows in the probate's court. And through it all, they laughed at you and jeered at you and your polished boots. And then you became the county judge. And all those giants who stood before you, like Harmon Whitney and Jefferson Howard and Kinsley Keene, were forced to stand below the bar and say, "Your Honor." Don't you suppose it's natural I made it hard for them?
I was the only child of Francis Harris of Virginia and Thomas Greene of Kentucky, of valiant and honorable blood both. To them, I owe all I became. Judge, member of Congress, leader in the state. From my mother, I inherited vivacity, fancy, language. From my father, will, judgment, logic. All honor to them, for what service I was to the people.
My thanks, friends of the County Scientific Association, for this modest boulder and its little tablet of bronze. Twice I tried to join your honored body and was rejected. And when my little brochure on the intelligence of plants began to attract attention, you almost voted me in. After that, I grew beyond the need of you and your recognition. Yet, I do not reject your memorial stone, seeing that in so doing, deprive you of honor to yourselves.
Out of a sound to this darkened space. The end! At 25! My tongue could not speak was stirred within me, and the village thought me a fool. Yet, at the start, there was a clear vision, a high and urgent purpose in my soul, which drove me on, trying to memorize the Encyclopedia Britannica.
To be able to see every side of every question. To be on every side, to be everything, to be nothing long. To pervert truth, to write it for a reason. To use great feelings and passions of the human family for base designs, for cunning ends. To wear a mask like the Greek actors. Your 8-page paper behind which you huddle, bawling through the megaphone of big type, it is I, the giant. Poisoned with the anonymous words of your clandestine soul, to scratch dirt over scandal for money, to exhume it to the winds for revenge, or to sell papers, crushing reputations and bodies if need be, to win at any cost, save your own life. To glory in demonic power, ditching civilization. As a paranoid boy puts a log on the track and derails the express train, to be an editor as I was. Then to lie here, close by the river, where the sewage from the village flows, and the empty cans and garbage are dumped, and abortions are hidden.
Did you ever hear of Editor Whedon giving to the public treasury any of the money he received for supporting candidates for office? Or for writing up the canning factory to get people to invest? Or for suppressing the facts about the bank when it was rotten and ready to break? Or did the circuit judge help anyone except the Q Railroad or the bankers? Or did Reverend Pete or Reverend Sibley give any part of their salary earned by keeping still to the building of the waterworks? But I, Daisy Fraser, who passed along the streets through nods and smiles and coughs and words such as, "There she goes," never was taken before Judge Arnett without contributing $10 and change to the school fund of Spoon River.
I never saw any difference between playing cards for money, selling real estate, practicing law, banking, or anything else. For everything's a little chance. Nevertheless, says thou a man diligent in business, he shall stand before kings.
I was 16. I had the most terrible dreams, and specs for my eyes and nervous weakness. I couldn't remember the books I read, like Frank Drummer, who memorized page after page. And my back was weak, and I worried. I was embarrassed and stammered my lessons. When I stepped to recite, I forgot everything I had studied. Well, I saw Dr. Wu's advertisement, and there, I read everything in print, just as if he had known me, and about the dreams which I couldn't help. So I knew I was marked for an early grave. And I worried until I had a cough. And one day, the dream stopped. And I slept the sleep without dreams, here on the hill, by the river.
Mr. Kessler, you may know, was in the army. And he drew $6 a month as pension and stood out on the corner talking politics, or sat at home reading Grant's memoirs. And I supported the family by washing, learning the secrets of all the people, from their curtains, counterpanes, shirts, and skirts. For things that are new grow old with length, and they're replaced with better or none at all. People are either prospering or falling back, and rents and patches widen with time. Though no thread or needle can paste decay, and there are stains that baffle soap, and there are colors that run in spite of you, blamed though you are for spoiling a dress. Handkerchiefs, napery, have their secrets. the laundress life, knows all about it. And I, who went to all the funerals held in Spoon River, swear I never saw a dead face without thinking it looked like something washed and ironed.
Henry got me with the child, knowing that I cannot bring forth life without losing my own. In my youth, therefore I entered the portals of dust. Traveler, it is believed in the village that I live that Henry loves me with a husband love. But I proclaim from that dust that he slew me to gratify his hatred.
My life's blossom might have bloomed on all sides, save for a bitter wind which stunned my petals, on the side of me on which you in the village could see. From the dust I raise a voice of protest. My flowering side you never saw. You living ones, you are fools indeed, those who do not know the ways of the wind and the unseen forces that govern the processes of life.
Your red blossoms and my green leaves are drooping. Beautiful geranium. But you do not ask for water. You cannot speak. You do not need to speak. Everyone knows that you are dying of thirst, yet they do not bring water. They pass on, saying the geranium wants water. And I, who had happiness to share, and longed to share your happiness, I who loved you, Spoon River, and craved your love, withered before your eyes, Spoon River, thirsting voices from Chastity's soul to ask you for love. You who knew and saw me perish before you, like this geranium which someone has planted over me and left to die.
The Cooper should know about tubs, but I learned about life as well, and you who loiter around these graves think you know life. Perhaps your eyes sweep about a wide horizon, but in truth, you are only submerged in a tub of yourself. Taboos and rules and appearances are the staves of your tub. Break them and dispel the witchcraft of thinking your tub is life and that you know life.
To this generation, I would say, memorize some bit of verse of truth or beauty. It may serve a turn in your life. And all through the wisdom of Pope, the poet. Act well your part. There all honor lies.
Flickering away as fast as it came, another life ends here. But bright on the horizon, a new age is dawning. One that is long enough to live a new story and to retell another. Before I fade away, a tale was cast into steel and stone without my knowledge. One that dear friends and bitter enemies will try to scratch in permanently, burying the details along with me in the grave. But this one is mine alone to confess. I shall be the one to settle the spirits of rumors, of which the lines of true and false have been blurred. But to correct my wrongdoings now, I fear would rather be absurd.